photographers. You and I both really loved the Fujifilm X E4. That was so 2017. Thankfully, there's good news this week. Fujifilm announced the X E4. Let me do a quick look at what I love and what I hated on this new model, and then I'll start to work on my review, which will include the operational details like burst buffer and overheating. I loved the X E4 for street photography because it was small, reliable, unobtrusive, easy to handle, and simple to operate, everything you want for street. The X E4 review unit came paired with the new weather-sealed lightweight XF27 f2.8. The kit will cost Canadians $1,350, body only $1,100. Now, I love the design with the silver-toned magnesium top plate. It's also available in black when it ships on February 26th. So I love the simplicity. It's so retro, which makes it nicely street unobtrusive. The offset electronic viewfinder reinforces its old-school rangefinder style. You could mistake this for a film camera. However, the design is just a little bit too simple. I hate that there's no focus selector on the front, and there's no front grip. And although I appreciate some will love that clean line on the back, I hate that my thumb doesn't fall on anything, and the EV comp is too far right, the focus joystick too far down, and again, no grip. However, the review kit included the model-specific hand grip. $120 Canadian. It screws onto the tripod mount on the bottom. The grip adds its own centered tripod socket compared to the uncentered one on the body. I love that. Now, there's also a model-specific thumb rest, $95 Canadian, which sits in the flash shoe. It's available both in silver and black to match the camera. I love the X E4's feel with these accessories, but now the EV dial is even more difficult to get to. There's some impact on the design aesthetic, but it really improves the hand feel and the grip. I put both in the love column, although maybe it should be the absolutely required accessory list. Also love the grip's height boost. Otherwise, many lenses descend below the level of the body, which is awkward, particularly with a quick release plate. But I hate the extra money grab. Somehow, the base design should have included these issues without resorting to extra cost options. And once you've seen it with these accessories, the camera seems incomplete without them. I do love the tech. The latest generation 26 megapixel X Trans 4 sensor and 4th generation quad-core X processor. I'm going to have to do a detailed comparison, but I love that it has the same sensor, processor, and nearly identical firmware features of the XS10. I love the auto switch on the lens. There's a button on the aperture dial to release it from auto. Now, I would love it even more if it was like the new 10 to 24 millimeter WR lens, which can't slip into or out of auto without pressing the button. And I'm also loving the 70 to 30 millimeter lens introduced at the same time, even though the aperture ring isn't marked. The lens is also weather sealed. Both are appreciated extensions to the lens lineup, now at 37 models. I love that the screen has been freed from the body. It tilts up and down, up enough for selfies. I'd love it even no, it's fine just as it is. I love that they've upped the LCD resolution, 1.6 m-dot over the X E4's 1 m-dot. Same viewfinder resolution. Now, I'm a fan of Fujifilm's non-PASM approach, But this mode dial's combination seems to feel right. The hybrid mode and shutter duration dial has auto, program, and then sets the shutter duration. I love the innovative thinking here, but reserve final judgment until my full review. I love that all of the controls are on the right side. That makes operation simple. Well, if you're right-handed anyway. While I love the small and simple design of the 5 keys, I hate how difficult it is to get to the Q key, especially with the thumb rest. And there's no tactile difference between the 3 keys on the back. At least one of them should have a small bump. But I love that the on-off switch and shutter release are simple to operate with my index finger. And I love the confident, if slightly loud, mechanical shutter sound. Pleased me the first time I heard it, still pleasing. If you want silent, of course, there's electronic, with or without a sound effect. I love the weight. The body's 365 grams before the grip and thumb rest, although that is slightly heavier than the XE3. On the side, I love the 3.5mm mic in and the USB-C power delivery port. I hate that it has to be shared with headphones, but love the included adapter. If I cared about video on this model, I'd hate the micro HDMI port, small and flimsy, but can you really hate a port that delivers 10-bit 422 color output? With or without the grip. I hate the card slot on the bottom, and that it maxes to UHS 1 type SDXC cards. And I hate the battery door, that it's so close to the tripod socket, and I hate that they didn't put the new battery in this model, and that the door doesn't snap closed. Now, the hybrid shutter dial is simple, so all of its cleverness isn't readily apparent. I love the new program shift trick. Press the front dial and it changes from setting the shutter to aperture. It's kind of like a secret aperture and shutter priority setting. When you use the mode dial to set the shutter, the XE4 is in shutter priority, as long as the aperture ring is at A. When you also set the aperture ring, you're in manual mode. Again, love the innovative thinking. I'm going to reserve judgment on how effective it is. I love that the unlabeled, easier to get to top key opens the ISO menu. Standard Fujifilm ISO range, 160 to 12,800, and 2 extended modes up to 51,200. But I hate that there's no key to select the film simulation. The previously known 18 options are included, or for white balance, also with the same known features, including setting Kelvin by 10-degree steps. I don't hate that. So set white balance and film sim from the main or the Q menu, unless you don't use the focus exposure lock key and customize it. Love the 8 pages of custom settings, so hate that there are so few customizable keys. There's lots more real estate here. I love that moving the focus point simultaneously activates the focus area selection. Just turn the front dial. And I love that Autofocus has 425 points that cover nearly the entire scene. I love all of Fujifilm's options for manual focus assist. I love that with electronic shutter, the XE4 goes up to 20 frames per second and with a crop to 30 times. Probably not for long. I'll include that detail in the review. And while I find them both restrictive and not as useful as I'd anticipated, I love that both Sports Finder and Pre-Shot are included. And it's not that I hate Self-Timer. I'm just disappointed that there are few options and that they've been left in the camera menu instead of as a drive mode selection. But I do love the Easter egg. Use Self-Timer in burst mode and you get 5 images. I love the interval timer's infinity setting to record images until you run out of space. And I love that there are more multi-exposure modes than most, and up to 9 images can be combined. I love face detect and eye detect. Both work well, but hate that using this setting overrides photometry and that Fujifilm hasn't yet added animal eye detect. Competition is getting way ahead here. I love the ability to save 7 custom settings, particularly as they've now been updated with the feature introduced on the XS10 that saves any changes you make while using a setting as an update to that setting. Could be even better if this could be individually set, or if a few were exempt from that feature. I'm not sure this needed to also be a video camera, so actually love that video functionality isn't obvious. There's no red button or video mode on the dial. Use the drive menu to select video, press the shutter release to start and stop recording, or just ignore it completely. In video mode, the entire video menu appears, and you have to love the full complement of video features. Independent settings, F-log, timecode, zebra, peaking, and a comprehensive audio control panel. Then, with 4K at both video 16:9 and cinema 17:9, from 24 to 30 frames up to 200 megabits data rate, HD to 60 frames, it's hard not to love this as a video camera. High-speed slow motion up to 240 frames for 10 times slow. And while you'll hate that it doesn't have in-body stabilization, there are optically stabilized lenses. I love the support for Fujifilm's X webcam, but hate that it doesn't do tethering, because that's how it would connect to a Ronin gimbal. Maybe that's coming in a firmware release. Speaking of, I don't love Fujifilm's remote app, but I do love its firmware update feature. That's the easiest firmware upgrade of any manufacturer. And also love that Fujifilm provides updates more often than most. Now overall, I do love the organization and navigation of Fujifilm's menu, although I hate the dimmed out selections that offer no indication as to why they're not available. And I should, but don't love my menu, mostly because there are many functions, specifically setup options like screen display settings, that can't be my menued. As always, I hate that the menu key nearly always defaults to the first item or my menu instead of the last item I used. Please make this optionable. Finally, I love the do-it-yourself manual, but it's probably a pre-production copy. Now, if you have questions you'd like to see addressed in my full review, please post them in the comments. I'll make sure to do a shout out to you. And if you enjoy my videos, I'd be honored to have you as a subscriber. Just click the button below, or you could click the join button and become a member. Membership perks include a private email address where members are whitelisted so that you can correspond directly with me. But subscribers need not worry. No content will be behind a paywall. So please choose the option that suits your needs. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.